believe the best thing you can relate now, since you did not do NDECC, with AFK, we have the basic science. So here they're trying to test you on basic skills. Can you do a proper, and focus on the word proper, PFM, or a proper class 2 prep, or a proper filling?
In this time limit.
In this time limit. And people more used to focus on little things here and there, but they're literally just asking you to do proper work. Now, where I see people getting confused is applying academic work versus applying a criteria work. Because the NDEB did provide us with a criteria. But what people are doing is applying the Bible, which is the criteria. But people apply the criteria, and sometimes they go and fail the exam. And they start to search for what's missing.
So what do you mean by criteria and academic? So the academic work is like textbook.
Yes.
And then the criteria is the NDEB. Shouldn't they be aligned?
They are aligned, very much aligned. But a criteria is a 1 page per project versus you're comparing it to a chapter in a book.
Yeah.
So they're telling you that your optimum work should look like this. Your minimally competent work should look like that. And if you're going to fail, then you're going to have these issues. So people are basically, obviously, they're trying to achieve the minimally competent or competent. They're trying to stay there.
It's like relevant to the ACS when it was A plus. Well, you could get the A and pass.
Yes, you can get a D sometimes and pass.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you focus on these numerics, if you want to get an A plus, if you want to get an A, a D, if you fail to get an E, that's where people get lost sometimes. Because you see them getting, for example, they get an A, an A, an A, and suddenly they drop by an E on a specific thing on a project. That's because they're looking at it in a mathematic way as a criteria. So I tell them, if you want the easy way out from skills, is forget about the criteria. It's there to help you, yes, but try to do an academic work. You cannot have a filling that has a retentive area that can retain food, right? But when you look at it in the criteria, they're going to say a void. So brain is going to look at it as a void, but when you describe it to them as it's a flat retentive area, they understand it more.
I see.
So that's what I mean by being academic versus a criteria.
So is your approach that you try to train them through learning an academic way to apply the criteria at the end of the day? So it's like they're learning the proper dentistry, but they're also learning how to pass at the same time, right? That's what we do in AFK as well. It's like we're teaching them dentistry from a level of understanding the concepts, but also this is what you need to pass. So
that's what's been working for them. Like that's what's been working, and making it more enjoyable to them is
they relate it.
Yeah, because they can see the importance of it.
True.
And that's what I tell them as well.
That's an interesting concept that you're linking it clinically right away. The skills right away to clinic instead of just focusing on the passing factor.
Yes, and you know what's
though this comes as a consequence.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you do this, you're going to get it. If you do that, you will get it as well.
Yeah.
But your brain registers it differently. And that's what another thing that I tell them as well is, I teach you to do something, you'll learn it from me and you do it. But I don't like you to do that. I want you to see the importance of what I do, and you do it because you're convinced of it.
Yes.
Not because Dr. Safe does it that way. And that also has been making an impact. Because your brain as well registers something, and when you feel the importance of it, you do it differently than you're just mimicking somebody else.
You might remember it more. You might figure out how to fix it if there's an issue.
Yes.
It's like, teaching them how to fish versus giving them a fish kind of thing, right?
And that has been flipping tables.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot of progress in some of the candidates here that when they first come, their work was, and then you see a big change, right?
That's what we see most on the people who are passing in 3-4 months.
Yes. They're receiving that idea very well.
And sometimes we do see people who come after a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years of practice. Work is beautiful, but the academics are not there. They come 2-3 months, they see the academics.
Yeah.
It changes their perspective of working in that project. They don't change their way of doing it, but they just start to look at it differently. They go and they pass.
Okay,
so that's the happy thing.
And what would you say, again, is the most difficult or projects that people are failing in skills? Do you have have you noticed a pattern, or is it just like everybody's different? It doesn't have to be an answer.
There is a pattern. Yes, there is a pattern. However, we see a couple of people, like the 5-10% of the candidates, they still surprise us within a project that they
you
come
assume
to us,
easy.
or they they failed with it. But mostly the pattern is failing either crown preparation, the PFM, or they're failing the class 2 prep, class 2 preparation, amalgam preparation.
And both now are on plastic teeth?
They're both on plastic teeth, which made things a lot easier from the multi-layered, from the carious teeth in class 2. But that's where I would point things out. It's mostly misunderstand criteria in these two projects.
So if someone is in that path, let's say misunderstanding that criteria, or a new person, how long do you think it'll take them to get a good project from that? Like
simple answers, Dr. Hafez. We always advocate for 6 months.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean the whole course? We're going to
stick, yeah. 6 months with the right approach, with you being academic, that's what I focus on all the time, then that's what you need to pass.
And what about the easiest, like, is there a project that everybody just gets right away? It's the easiest thing?
Mostly it's provisional, crown, and endodontic access.
Those are kind of...
These are always the safest two projects. It differs from candidate to candidate. Some candidates are good with crown, with the preparations in general, with cutting projects. Some people have a really nice, clean hands with restorations or restorative dentistry.
Yeah.
So that's what you can maximize on. If you're good with the preparations, then start investing your time in restorations. If you're good with restorations, invest more time in
cutting.
Yeah. So that's how it goes. But 6 months with the right academic approach is what the general 90% of the people need.
And how would you approach those 6 months? Is it training every day, or
you want my secrets or the
the overall, like, would you recommend people to practice every day, or can they get away with, like, 4 days a week or 3 days a week, or is it just 7 days a week? Like,
generally speaking, what I tell them is 4 days of practice. 4 to 5 days are more than enough. 4 days is the average. That's where the 70% are. The other 30%, they can be divided into people are doing 6-7 days, and the people who are doing 2 days.
Because sometimes I see people every day, right? Or
yes.
I'm not an advocate. Is there any fatigue like that could happen?
Yes. I'm not an advocate of doing 6-7 days. I'm an advocate of you working Monday to Friday. It's your full-time job. And doing a minimum of...
Sorry, when you say working, you mean practicing skills?
Practicing skills.
Yeah, just to make sure that...
it's your full-time job. That's how I look at it.
So skills is the full-time job,
It's your full-time job, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're not working another job.
You could be working
on a full-time job, but that's going to be your first shift as working, and then you come to the center and you do the skills shift. But all that needs to happen here at the center, you come for 5 days, you stay for 4 or 5 hours, 7 hours, or 10 hours, but we care that you produce at least 4 projects before you go. So some people achieve it in 4 hours and leave. Some people achieve it in 7 hours. Some people love to socialize. Some people want to just get the projects and go. So it depends on the priorities, but 4 to 5 days, 4 to 5 hours, this is the gold standard.
Yeah. You're mentioning, so especially if there's a nice environment, they could hang out and...
Some people actually come not to work. Some people come to stay in the vibe.
Yeah, well, we love it. We love seeing people come in and just like hanging out, talking to each other. And
they do like
helping each other.
Potlucks. They enjoy their time. They chat about it. Sometimes
they celebrate their instructor.
Yes, sometimes they do that. It's a very friendly environment.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That was my message initially. Like when I started doing skills at Scholars, my message was to prevent people to go through the idea that this exam is traumatizing. And I'm happily able to say that people are seeing the results of it. Again, to the point where they're seeing the skills exam becoming more like a natural thing to pass the skills within the first 4 to 5 months.
And it's not a natural thing.
And it's not. That's what I'm trying to say.
The skills was like, when the skills was there and I used to talk to people like, oh, everybody is doing a year. And 2 courses, like that's standard now. I'm like, what, really? Like, is that?
Yeah. There's a lot of things. A lot of
people have methods, and it's a little bit.
You're going to hear
myth,
about everything. Yeah, but stick to one thing and stick to the entire book. Stick to the entire story, and don't divertifize.
Yeah, keep positive attitude about it.
Yes. Don't hear the negatives.
And one of the things I do hear as well is like that. Like in this environment we try to create is that people are helping each other. Seeing it's possible to see each other's work checks.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes there's environments where people are very competitive, so Do you feel like that kind of environment is adding to their success, or is it just like feel goods? But
you're actually bringing a really good point, because that's one of the main highlights that we have at the center in like building B there. We do public work checks for our own candidates. So the first month or two when you sign up for the course, you're able to see my mistakes, because when you do the work check on my camera, it's being broadcasted on all stations, on all the monitors. Because
scary.
Yeah, it is. But I give them a disclaimer:
Yeah.
is if you want to skyrocket your learning curve and you don't want it to be like within the first 4 or 5 months you're still learning. If you want to learn a lot from the first month or two, then doing public work checks, it would benefit you from learning from other people's mistake and your own mistakes. Like instead of me seeing 5 issues
it has to like accelerate you somehow.
yeah, you're seeing 50 issues a day.
Yeah.
So it will definitely skyrocket your learning curve. And within the first 2 months, you are saturated with concepts. And then third, fourth, fifth month, you're just practicing. And we're seeing people with, obviously, you're not going to build the highest quality of work within the first 5 months.
Yeah.
But with enough of quality, with a big chunk of concept, people are passing. Versus you maximizing the quality, but the academics are not there, is making people fail. So learning
that's why
and concepts is
having
very
the environment
important.
that way is I think a big shift.
Yes. And it's changing people's mentality from, oh, it's my work check, I don't want people to see it, into, no, I'm happy to share my mistakes and my weaknesses
Work
with you,
together
and we learn together.
Overcome the exam. No, that's the beauty of it too, right? To have like what do you say, camaraderie, companionship, like on this journey. Which
I love in this process with all the toxicity around it. And
we try to keep the toxicity away.
We're trying to keep it away. Yes. And it's been working. That's a good thing.